There are some life journeys that are extremely challenging. And if you're a person who's having one of those life journeys, or if you're a person who loves somebody and cares about somebody who's having one of those really challenging life journeys, this episode is for you. We're going to have a conversation with Ronnie Figueroa, who has gone through so many difficult experiences, addictions, and drugs and abusive behaviors and just chronic health issues, homelessness, disability, so many challenges, and now is a therapist that helps other people, 72 years old, thriving in counseling, taking no medications and living in inner peace. Join us to find out more.
Soul Nectar Show, the Soul Nectar Show. You're invited, delighted to discover who you are. Anything is possible if you believe. So join us on this beautiful journey. Soul Nectar Show, Soul Nectar Show.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show that talks about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our stories of connection to that which is greater than us, to the big mystery beyond the veil, to those synchronistic moments that lead us inexorably to a deeper understanding of who we are and what we came here to do, be, experience, see, smell, taste, feel, all the above. And I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird, and I've had these conversations week after week for about 10 years and really enjoy having these conversations because they illuminate different aspects of the human experience through the person that I'm interviewing and the commonalities that we experience or the unique story, the unique journey that they have taken to acquire their wisdom and their gifts. And one of the things that we don't talk about a whole lot as a focus, but is so important, is how do you handle it when life seems to deal you or someone you love like a really challenging deck of cards? This is a challenging deck. How is this person going to overcome this? How is this person going to overcome these really hard things that they're facing in their life? And maybe this is you. Maybe you're listening and you're feeling like your life has fallen apart, or you're feeling like you can't overcome your addictions, or you just can't face the challenges in your life. You just don't have the willpower to get up and do something about it. Maybe you feel twisted and turned around inside yourself. Maybe you've been hopeless, and maybe you have a disability that's really made it difficult for you to function in our society as it is today. And I have so much compassion for that, because although I was somewhat of an alcoholic earlier in my life, I was functional, meaning I could still function, and do the thing that everyone expected me to do. I was still able to show up and handle things. But I have somebody in my life that I really love. And some of you guys know that's my son. And I love him so much, but he really has struggled. He has a lot of difficult things that he's had to face. And I feel emotion coming up. I feel it. It's really hard some days to watch him go through what he's going through. And if you're a caregiver for someone who's going through challenges like that, my heart is totally with you. I get it. I get how hard it can be, because we've got to really learn how to be in relationship with people who have tough life curriculums. And also that presents us with our own tough life curriculum when we're dealing with somebody like that. And I feel like it's for all of us to learn and grow. And I also feel on my journey the importance of really good boundaries and learning how to stay in my own lane. And my teacher at the Power Path, Jose and Lena Stevens, but particularly Lena Stevens, says a lot, stay in your own lane. And it was such a profound lesson for me, because my son also went through that program. And to learn how to stay in my own lane while being completely present and compassionate with my heart open and not fixing it. Huge lessons for me over the last 27 years since this guy has been on my periphery. Gosh, it'll open your heart with so much compassion to stay in a state of caring for someone as they go through these really big challenges. And it's not an easy placement. So today, I'm welcoming Ronnie Figueroa to the show. Welcome, Ronnie.
Hello. Hi.
Ronnie has experienced a lot of these things himself directly, experienced addiction to alcohol and drugs and smoking and abusive behaviors, and had a heart condition, chronic health issues, a seizure disorder, had experienced homelessness and disability, and really needed to find his own path to healing. And on the way of that path, and along with many losses, losing two best friends in high school and another close friend several years later, losing his brother, losing a person he was involved with, it just knocks you in the teeth. And you're just like, how do I even stand up? And so today, Ronnie is 72. He doesn't take any medications and he runs a thriving counseling practice. And honestly, and I've told Ronnie this, I know my son is a medicine person and I know where Ronnie's sitting is where he's going to be. But watching a person walk the path of getting there is really sometimes hard. And I hope I can let this flow through me on behalf of anybody here who feels that in your own life. Let's just take a moment and feel that grief together.
Yeah.
Let's sink some roots down deep into Mother Earth's soil, letting the root go way deep into the ground. All the way down to the center of Mama Earth, where there's just a beautiful reservoir of compassion. Deep, deep compassion. And I like to visualize rose quartz light compassion coming back up the root and all the way back up into the body. And just really letting Mama Earth hold us with so much compassion for these experiences that just crack us open. And letting all the heaviness and all the fear and the worry and the doubt and the confusion and the resentment and the anger and hostility and the fear just all fall away down into the ground for mulching. Just letting all that beautiful compassion be all that's left. Because we have a really powerful conversation today, and I want to be in the most service and the most transparency. I have a lot of things figured out. You know, I've had my own journey climbing up the mountain. I've had my own journey, and we're going to hear Ronnie's journey. And so I made it to the other side. I know it's possible. But when you watch someone you really love going through their own hard knocks, you know, it is just so heartbreaking sometimes. And so my heart is with everyone, whether you're the one that's having the hard knocks or you're the one that's caring for somebody that's having the hard knocks. Either way, you deserve just as much compassion and love for the journey. And so I want you to know that. And so Ronnie's going to help us navigate some of this territory from both sides of the equation because he's also been on both sides. And how can we bring so much understanding about the human condition to our loved ones that are going through tough times or ourselves when we're going through that? Ronnie's a licensed mental health counselor, a certified hypnotist, a life coach, a nutritional advisor, and an energy healer. And so, yeah, you got to explore it all when you walk that path. You just basically looking under every single stone, trying to figure out how to make life better. You know, so I see you as that fellow person, Ronnie, and I just welcome you to the show and welcome.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you. I'm trying to say, just sit here and not tear up, but thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Where would you like to start? Want me to start?
Yeah, I guess I would really like you to tell some of your story, you know, not to dwell too much in the story, but like some of your story of the hard things that you faced and maybe some golden threads for how you pulled yourself through that experience. I think let's start there.
Sure. Broken home, single mom, violent behaviors, bloody fights and all that as a child. So that wasn't too cool. So that hurt, you know, the PTSD kind of thing that would be developed from that kind of thing. A pretty rough neighborhood in Paterson, New Jersey. Father was a bootlegger, so we got access to alcohol very easily, young age. So we would drink a lot. He got them in these mason jars, you know, from the South. He'd bring them up, sell them to his friends. And me and my friend, we would sip on them. We would do it so much sometimes that it was almost all water in some of them. So we learned how to do that. We learned how to just take care of ourselves. It was like coping, But there was something inside of me, even as a young child, that just kind of knew something. I needed something more. I know it wasn't good what we were going through in our lives and whatever, but I needed something more. And I felt it then as a young child. Didn't know what, didn't know how to understand it. Nobody would help me to try to understand it. It was just going to school, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And that was about it. So I became a rebel. I started to do other things. I started to not go to school. I started to do dangerous behaviors, et cetera, et cetera. From there, growing up, I joined the Navy, and not to fight because I don't believe in anything like that, but we were going to join, become Seabees and then get out of it. So I'm growing up this way, wanting to do something good, having this attitude of wanting to be a part of, always wanting to be a part of, but then wrapped up into, I got to please people. What's going on? I got to keep looking outside of myself and doing things in order to make things better. So I kept doing that. I'm not going to lie, I'm still working on it. But throughout life, it started to go. I went back to school, got my degrees and everything like that. Started to feel a little bit better, but a lot of it was just kind of filtering into my selfish ego again, relying on everything outside of me and not really looking inside enough to see what was going on. It started to hurt so much that it was like, what is going on? I started to become more fearful of life. It started to build up. I had to drink more to compensate or smoke more to compensate. Eventually, I got to a place where I said, there's got to be something more. I can't do this anymore. So I started getting into self-help books. I started reading this and reading that. And then little miracles came along the way. Little acts of synchronicity came along the way, right? I went to this bookstore one day, right in the midst of questioning what's going on in the world. There's got to be something else we can do. Because I also believed in community. As a young child, I wanted us to be together, that sort of thing. And I went to the bookstore, the turnstile kind of thing. I hit it and a book fell off. And it was The Power of Now. Now, this was when he first came out with it, right?
Yeah.
So I went, what the heck is that? So I picked it up and I'm just starting to scroll through it. And I went, it sounds interesting. I think I'll take it. I read it and it really helped to bring me to another step that I needed to be at. It was so profound that I wanted to do more of it and I wanted to do it. But what happened? Because the selfish ego can be so strong, that unconscious mind is going to fight us to keep us down there. Those other voices, those other entities are going to say, no, you cannot do this. You have to stay here. So I listened to it too much. So I kept drinking and I kept smoking and it should have, but it didn't. So I'm going on in my life. I'm in my 40s. I went back to school, got my degrees. I'm working. I'm a supervisor. The weekend binger thing, I was able to handle it. Oh yeah, I can do this. I would take booze with me to work, all that kind of stuff. And I was getting away with it. But it was starting to, as I'm going in my 40s and 50s, to not only really bother me emotionally, mentally, but my body was starting to break down. In my 50s, I went to California, started a business, caring for kids on the autism spectrum and with various developmental disabilities and whatnot. And I wanted to help. I wanted to do better. I was reading some of the self-help books. I had gone to the seminars. I don't want to be a name dropper, but you name them, I've gone to them. And it was helping, but it wasn't enough. Why? Because I'm looking outside for them to help me. I still hadn't gotten that idea that it's all already within you, which I'm starting to understand more and more and how important that is to trust in that. So all this stuff is going on. So the universe is probably going, all right, you're dumb. Here, I got to hit you upside the head. Maybe you'll listen. Because, it was. And I say this too, because I want people to hear it sooner, and I'll say it again. Nobody has to go through what I've gone through. We can learn sooner, and people need to understand that. It's good that we can be representatives of that, but people need to understand they don't need to go through that. So I died. I died one day in my 50s. I was jogging to the gym because I was still in pretty good shape, I thought. And I swam, and then I went into a sauna. I had drank before I got there too. I passed out. They came. They had to resuscitate me because my heart stopped. They put a pacemaker in my chest, which I still have because of it. And it was like a wake-up call for me. And you think I would do something more, but I didn't. Even after that, I kept drinking, thinking that, hey, I have a pacemaker. Hey, if my heart goes bad, it'll go off and I'll be fine. So seizures started to happen. Asthma started to happen, and I'm still smoking. And all of these things are happening. I died and I'm still doing it afterwards. So I think the thing that during this time that really helped, because also I was so out of it at one point in my 50s, just before I started the business, really. that I had to go on disability and I didn't have a place to live. So I was living in a garage in a facility that I was working for. They allowed me to sleep there in the garage. So, I was feeling like still maybe I could do this, but there was something inside of me that was just like really, really getting to a place where I was hitting rock bottom and I couldn't use my skills anymore to get myself out. And it was like, what do you do here? And it was like, I have no clue. So I started to get really desperate almost. But then as I was starting to get to that place, I do recall a few people coming to me out of nowhere and they're saying, what's wrong? And I did something that we all need to do. I actually asked for help. I finally asked for help. And then they said some words, but these particular people, they were so cool. And they weren't trying to pat me on the back. They were saying, you've got to stop this. You're going to die. We'll try to help you, but you got to stop this. And that just kind of did something to me. And I went, thank you. And they kept being there for me. And they were saying, okay, we can be here, but you got to do this yourself. You've got to do this, And I went, okay. So I'm going, how? So, I was listening to things and I started getting to stuff. And some of the stuff that I had learned from the past, it started to hit me. Oh, the power now, it says be present, be in the moment. Okay. So I started to feel that more and it started to make me feel better. I started to see myself wanting more of it. So then again, don't get me wrong, books are important. All these things are important, but they need to be secondary. We need to learn how to really learn to have it all within ear. Use those things for help. But we rely too much on the things outside of us as a world, I think. We need to learn to see that we already have it in us. So I was practicing that, still going to all the seminars and whatever. More and more, though, I saw that, wow, there's this thing in me that can generate something. People call it spirit, God, whatever you want to call it. It's so real. It is so real. I didn't see how real it was then, but I kept practicing these specific things that would help lead me toward that. And I got better and better. I stopped drinking because I had tried before. And when we're trying and trying, we can do this. It doesn't work very well. It can for some people. But if you still got all that stuff trapped inside of you, it can be almost impossible to stop these addictions, right? Because we all have some kind of addiction. And so I saw myself weaning off and it was like, wow, I don't want it as much. I saw myself, the alcohol, the smoking, and then I stopped completely. And it was like, hey, I'm going to be super spiritual man now.
That's the next addiction. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All the seminars, all the books. Hey, yeah, you go to this one, to that one. I had all these books and they were helpful. Don't get me wrong. They were very helpful, but there still was that thing missing. And more, even recently in my 50s, throughout my 60s and 70s, I am learning that we already have it within us and we need to continue to thrive within that thing that's within us and trust it more and more with, and I, developed with, and some people have similar kinds of ideas, but to me, it's simple and we need to really practice simple things. All of those years and years of training, not necessary. People may disagree with this and that's fine, but anybody at any age can heal in a relatively short period of time. And we need to understand that we can do that and then find the tools to use that are going to help that along the way. And there are many, but they need to be simple more and more. And we need to see that they need to be individualized to us at the same time. This is going to sound contradictory in a way, universal, where we can come together with these things and learn how to do this together as a better community so that we can evolve. The thing that I call it my fourfold way of life, basically. And it doesn't have to happen in this order. And again, please interrupt me.
Oh, no, this is great. Please keep going.
I call it the fourfold way of life because it's just made so much more sense to me. And again, understand that I am evolving as we speak. And I'll continue to need to because I got some areas there that still need help. But the fourfold way of life, not necessarily in this order, but it's the idea of learning to be aware of you inside yourself. And that's the first part. The second piece is to be vulnerable enough, to be open enough and understanding to what awareness truly means. But you can learn that more so experientially instead of trying to learn it from books and all that kind of thing. The vulnerability aspect, that's the second part, where we can be that open where we're allowing all this stuff to happen and not have to rely on those things outside of ourselves. It's a scary place to be because you're putting it all here and you're saying, okay, I'll try to keep it here. And then all the distractions come in and they pull you out all the time. But the whole work is to keep bringing ourselves back to this place. That's the work, no matter what's going on the outside. And it's so difficult. Some of us are doing it better. Some of us can't do it. And I want to help people to learn how to do it better. That's the second one, vulnerability. And then within that, again, it's not in an order. They're all one thing. We need to learn to take risks and put ourselves out there for what we truly, truly believe that we need to do for ourselves and we need to do for other people. Because I don't believe in that old self-help, New Agey kind of concept. Oh, take care of yourself first. Then when you're better, then you help people. Then you can be more. No, you have to exercise wherever you are, that kind of vulnerability. That's the second part. With the third part, the risk taking and putting yourself out there. Even if your head's on the chopping block, you have to make a stand for what you truly believe, even if you're not sure it's right or wrong. And within the whole thing that brings it all together, we have, like I even saying this, it's a scary place to be, but there needs to be trust. Whatever degree that you have, and you need to keep coming back to this whole thing, this practice. It's easy if we just kind of get that. And it's an experiential thing, more so than trying to understand each and every aspect of it. So that's just that principle. I also have some simple practices that I try to help people with to see that the simplicity of it, because people don't realize that they've shown, because I'm a researcher too, because you need to learn. It's fun to learn, but it's secondary, even insignificant in comparison to just experientially trusting what you have. You can play the game of learning, but don't let it become what you have to do in order to live or communicate or be a better person, if that makes sense.
Gosh, I love everything you just said. There were so many points where I was like, oh, I could totally agree with that. I want to back up to one thing you said about like stopping addictions. When we want to break out of an addiction, and you said like it's the energy is backed up. And I totally 100% can confirm from my experience that to be true. It was like no amount of mentally, cognitively telling myself was going to fix that. So it was like this kind of black hole in my heart that was really hungry, and it would just yearn for like the alcohol or, I also had sex addiction for a little while too, like attention, right? Wanting attention. And so like that hole in my heart, it kept calling these experiences so that I could try to fill this space, but none of that would ever fill it. And I realized that was kind of like shamanically, it's like you need a soul retrieval. Like you need part of you back. You need to like reclaim some of you to get some more wholeness in here. And once there's more wholeness in here, the addictions, they don't have as much pull. Like they don't have as much sway when you have more of a feeling of self-love and more of a feeling of wholeness. And however you arrive at that.
Yes,
right?
yes. And the way you're saying it is just, thank you. And people need to go to something. Don't get me wrong, because they need to have something, whether it's shamanic healing, whether it's some practice, because I would put it all in one thing. Now, I hope it doesn't sound too trite when I use the word practice, because I don't mean like, oh, work at it. But there are tools that we can rely on to help us get closer to ourselves, and the ones that can do it more readily. And I tell people, hey, look, if you're already in something, if you're in a religion, a group, or this or that, don't just jump out of it to jump into something new, because that's what most of us do. Because this didn't work as well. Or we get into that thing of, yeah, this one thing was so wonderful. And this 5-day seminar just revved me up so much. I know everything's going to be good. Then they go home and it's like, wait a minute, why don't I feel as revved up as I did when I was in the seminar? Because we need an ongoing healing from within that we can practice or live experientially more so than mentally every moment of our lives, to work toward that every moment of our lives. Some of the practices that you may have is probably, and the way you were just saying it, I'm kind of going, I think I want to know more about that one too. And some of the things that I have, I have a very simple practice called the 3-part healing practice, and things like that. We need to come, and the key part of it, we need to see how important a truer community needs to be developed. A genuine, real community where we're breaking down the boundaries, we're breaking down the BS, we're truly being genuinely more and more real with where we are. And if we don't feel we are, at least being open to getting help from each other.
Yeah. So much of what you're saying I resonate with. The how you get there is whatever spirit like puts in front of you as the pathway, right? Or whatever you cultivated, the tool, the practice, whatever you were brought to that you decide you want to commit to as a daily practice in order to bring yourself that more wholeness, right? I want to also really support and validate your comment about it needing to be a personal practice. It needs to be a regular practice because it's not going to come from the outside. And there's some people who they'll just go see a healer once a week and get the entities off of them. But that's not you figuring out what are the patterns inside that are calling the entities to you as a little feast, so like clear them off. But like, why are they going to keep coming back until you develop some good boundaries and clear the patterns that they get through?
Yes. And it works. The idea, and I want people to understand, we're not just verbalizing something. I know you, I never met you, I never met Carrie before, but the resonance of not just the feelings or the experiential things we're talking about, but even the practical things that were on some of the page. I'm sure there's going to be things we disagree with, but this kind of concept is so important. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because I think this is important, because I look at the whole spectrum, because I want everybody to be helped. The ones who might not believe in anything, the ones who are defiant, the ones who are getting it, the woo-woo people who think they have it all.
There's no judgment with that comment, but yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all. But what would you recommend to those who are beginning and wanting, but they know they need something? Is that a fair question? But
okay, well, I'll offer mine and I want you to offer yours.
Oh, I'm gonna, yeah.
Okay, so mine is this, and I published this. I actually wrote a book, and I do recommend writing a book about your journey to wellness. Like, I recommend setting an intention that I'm going to be loved and I'm going to love myself and be totally well, and then start writing a book about it. And then you can document all of your experiences towards that goal. And then someday you can publish it and other people can benefit. So that's what I was guided to do. And along that path of getting over because the alcohol addiction was not as strong as the love addiction. So that was what was underneath the alcohol addiction for me. It's wanting love and validation. And I wasn't receiving that in the way that I needed to receive it. And so I was just kind of randomly hooking up and trying to find it that way. And it was not good for my health or my wellness or my self-esteem, none of that. So when I went to a spiritual retreat, a 3-day retreat, a silent retreat, so I had to stop talking and start listening. There's another piece of this puzzle. I had to stop talking and start listening. And the woman who was the teacher in that retreat, Vanessa Stone, I think is her name now, it's in my book. But she had said, as she had her time with me, she had time with each of us. And she said, I'm going to invite you to be celibate for 100 days and to let God make love to you. Don't let anybody else make love to you. Let God make love to you. And so I started this 100-day process, and I visualized it as if there was a pyramid, because I had just been down to Tulum and I had gone to the pyramid, and it was in the jungle. And so I visualized it being 100 steps to the top of the pyramid. So I fell off at step 5.
Well, hey, you made it 5 because, first time, right?
Step 5, and then I fell off. And I was like, okay. And I had some self-judgment about falling off the step. I was like, it's like only step 5. And so part of me was like raking my other side over the coals for falling off the step. And there was all this inner turmoil. And I said, okay, we're just going to keep walking. And then when I got to like step 20, I said, okay, I'm stronger now. I'm starting back at 1 because I'm going to do the whole 100 steps without interruption. But I had to get myself over that hump without judgment, continue, and then start back at 1. Because if I started back at 1 right away, I would have felt a lot of self-judgment that I had to start over again, and I wouldn't have been able to handle it. So I had to let myself keep going for a while and then start when I was strong, start back at 1. And I got all the way through the 100 days, and it did help me kick the habit of that. So I would value myself more and not be just giving myself to anybody just to get attention. So, and if you read that book, Awakening to Me, people have read it and said, Carrie, it's like you go into the next haunted house of the abuser-user relationship, and we're like telling you, don't go in that house, don't go in that house, don't go in that house. And then she goes in.
Goes in anyway. Yeah, yeah, we do that in different numbers. Sure, we do that.
So I told you mine. So what's yours?
Well, first of all, I want to say the idea, what you said in the beginning, just the idea of learning to care about yourself, to really just put that in there. What was your word? I forget exactly how you said it, but to love yourself that much or care about yourself that much, and just to kind of see that or do that or visualize that. Because again, I'll just use my word, the practice is so, so important that we do ongoing. The idea of what you're saying, and I've found this for myself. Sure, I'll go back and I'm still doing things I shouldn't do. Like, for my diet isn't the greatest at times. I'll cheat and eat my Haagen-Dazs ice cream when nobody's around. My cholesterol says don't do that, but I don't smoke anymore or drink. So I'm making progress. But the idea of being kind to oneself is so important, and I'm learning that. May sound a little corny, but these days I'll get up and the first thing I do, and habits are important to it. And people need to understand that. I'll get up and I'll go into the bathroom. We got to go pee first thing, right? But then I'll look in the mirror and give myself a hug. Sometimes it's like, man, you look like crap. Have a good day. And just that act, that simple act every day, it's been helpful for me. It's been really helpful. So I want to recommend to anybody to do something. If you've already started something, fine. If not, find something new, something that Carrie might have, or that I might have, or that someone might have. Make sure it's simple, because the way you're explaining it is a simple truth that people can see and build up on. Sometimes I don't do it, and sometimes I feel like crap, but that's just one thing, That's one little thing. I don't do my 3-part practice as much as I should, because so many things are going on. So much really chaotic things are going on. And a lot of that too, and I got to be honest with everybody, most of that stuff is what we create. It's not just random. And it can be twofold, that our unconscious stuff is wanting us to recreate it. And it's also good because the universe is saying, hey, I will help you break through this if you come to me and stay with me. So I'm learning to do these kind of practices every day that can really solidify me with what I already have. So in other words, it's like, okay, I'm on step 5, let's say. Now I'm going to try to go to step 6. Oh, I fall off still. Quite a bit. My falling off is getting a little upset or frustrated or angry for this person or that person, that sort of thing. But now I don't get guilty and go, okay, let me go have a drink. I'll feel better. It's more like, all right. I made a mistake. Let's go to the next step. So instead of starting from the beginning, I'll just keep going to that next step, to the next step. And where I am right now, by doing this kind of practice, there's a word for it. To me, it's like building up on top of whatever you've started. Don't give up on it, but keep going forward, even if you feel that you're failing. Keep moving forward in it anyway, and it works, and it can work in a relatively short period of time. I like to use is this an analogy? Yeah. Or something? Was it not Graham Bell, but what's his name? The guy who started the electric light, Edison. And he was interviewed one day, and the reporter was going, we're seeing that you tried to make this thing thousands of times and you failed so many times. How could you keep going? And he said, I didn't look at it as failing 1,000 times. He says, I looked at it as another way not to make the bulb. So and there's something to that really does work. We need a community to help us along, but we also need to know that we have it within us. And I hope that, and again, no matter who, because there's people who are suffering big time right now. And when I say this, I'm saying it out of my genuineness and my reality that these simple practices will change your life, will save your life. You just got to go somewhere and start to do it. Now, I'm going to throw this one out too. And please tell me how you feel about this, because a lot of people are trying, and they'll go to this seminar, and they'll go to this thing, and they'll go to this thing. So, I mean, I have my own answer too. And I'll give my answer first if you want. But too many of us, a majority of us, fall back. A majority of us who go to the seminars, and I say us because I think so much about the whole world, we fall away from it. And I would hope, that something could accelerate everybody to just get something and really stick with it and grow with it. That still concerns me this day, the way our world is, that so many people aren't getting it and may not get it.
You've mentioned a couple of times the importance of community, and I want to explore that a little bit, because there's a lot of people right now, a lot of influencers and different people spreading their voices about community, spiritual community in particular, and feeling really let down by it somehow, like feeling like whatever experience they had was really shitty, And I don't know what they experienced. I believe them when they say that. But also, I know that it's possible to build community based in genuine interaction, but you have to have, I think, a set of common agreements. And you've got to be aligned with those common agreements in order for it to work for you. For example, like in our medicine community that we had started, my partner and I founded, and we have a beautiful community that's beginning to bud and grow. And it's just so exciting as the gardener of it. It's like, oh, look at this, it's growing. But one of the ways that I think that it's growing so well is because as the leaders of it, right? First of all, I feel like my leadership of it is temporary. So I feel like I'm leading it now, but I fully anticipate the community members and other members to be rising up into positions of stewardship and guidance. So I do not see myself as a fixed position. And I think that makes a big difference in people's outlooks. Like they see themselves as becoming the stewards of this community in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's important. We get out of this guru mentality like that just because I walked a path and I developed a tool set and I said, hey, I want to share these tools with you guys. And they said, we love these tools. It's not about me. It's about the tools. And I think Gene Keys has done this really well. Richard Rudd's community has done this really well because it's all about the Gene Keys. And he's facilitated people to step up into positions of leadership. And he's actually taking a back seat now. He's getting ready to like backtrack and be like, okay, you guys take the community forward. I think it's a really good example of like how we do this.
What's this person's name again?
Richard Rudd.
I got to write things down when I hear it.
know.
I won't remember.
But I feel like these are some examples. And, so having like the common agreement. So like in the Gene Keys community, that's GeneKeys. In that community, we're looking at our pathway is our golden pathway, and we're looking at it through the lens of the Gene Keys, and we're looking at it through our own personal chart. The 64 keys exist. They're based in the I Ching from the Himalayas and astrology and a whole bunch of other things, human design related. But, there's a framework, and then you find yourself within that framework based on your own chart. So you, like you said, you have your personal journey, your personal expression is represented by this body of teachings. And we use that in our community. And we also use the 4 Agreements, which I love. The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Gosh, if I'd had that book in 3rd grade, my life would not be the same, right? I mean, it would just be
many people,
very different, So the 4 Agreements. And so I think you have to have like some set of common agreements. I'm a 4 Agreements fan. So in our community, it's the 4 Agreements. We live by these agreements and we conduct ourselves by these agreements interpersonally, and we practice. What does that mean to not take it personally? What does that mean to not make assumptions? How do we practice that more? So in that context, because we all agreed to be in a community practicing, these tenets, then we're doing it. And vulnerability, like you said, like I exhibited vulnerability in this call. I didn't know that was going to happen, as people that watch the show say, she never does that. By the way, Ronnie, in case you were wondering if I opened any episodes crying, no. My heart was very touched today, and Spirit told me to not hold back. And so, as you know, I didn't hold back. So I just let it be what it is. And vulnerability is really important, especially from leadership, because of the ways we give the false idea that we've got it all together and we've arrived somehow and we're like fixed and healed and everything's copacetic.
And it's one of the most healing things.
Wacky idea. And it's not true. So what are your thoughts on all that?
Everything that you're saying, I believe in simplicity, to be honest with you, right? But everything that you're saying, we just started this group. We've had 4 sessions. We're meeting right now once a month, every first Sunday. I mean, we just started, so we have about 10 regulars, and sometimes people come in and come out, and it's starting to grow. And there's a structure because, like you're saying, we need some kind of structure, but not like a mechanical necessarily, but that we know we can agree to and follow along with. And especially for me, I think that people can see it effective for them, to see that they can fit into it, to see that they feel safe in it, not that they just come in and you got to do this, you got to do that, but they see the progression. And so the way we start it is we'll have some music going on and just a little guided imagery sort of thing where people can relax and just kind of breathe before we start the meeting. And then we'll have a guest speaker come in, usually we've had somebody come in every time, and please, I want to invite you to
Oh,
come
I would
in
love to.
if you have the time. This is great. Okay,
Yeah.
now we'll have another speaker because sometimes because I'll have to do some of it too. Like I'll present something if we don't have somebody there, but that's a little bit of time of doing that. And then we do the little breakout rooms that people are talking about where you can be more intimate. This is probably where we need to learn to be a little bit more maybe organized as we grow, like you're saying, the different specific things that they would want to do. But I want to keep it as simple as possible for them. And if they need to build up on something else, maybe your kind of thing, they may need more of that building into themselves. But it always comes back to, because it's called the energy healing gathering. We
Mm.
want to get to collectively so that we can put out energy for ourselves to heal. Some of the presentations help with that. The breakout rooms will help with that. And then after that, we'll just send out, we'll have the chat sometimes and people saying what they want healed within themselves. There's some people, there was a lady who's suffering from cancer, and we all just in that small group put out some healing energy toward her and just kind of supporting her in it. And there was tears and this and that. This last one, and I don't want to be too long-winded with this, the last one really showing how miracles do happen. There was one lady who did a presentation. She lost her brother 3 years ago during this time. 3 years ago, I lost my brother. I had problems with my mother, who was very physically, emotionally abusive and with sexual abuse attached to it. The third one, I've been communicating with my brother who's on the other side. I feel that we are still communicating. One of the members who I know, someone I know, she was like freaked out. And I said, she raised her hand. And I said, did you want to share something? And she says, my brother died 3 years ago. My mother was sexually abusive to us. And she was crying while she was saying it. I mean, and she said the third thing, and she's been working on trying to communicate with her brother, which can be very difficult for her. That doesn't just happen from nowhere. So these are the kind of things that I hope whatever communities that get together will develop these things more so, where they become more commonplace instead of like how too many groups aren't really gelling enough.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying. And it's something that I've noticed happens a lot in our community because we do like group programs. I mean, I will teach our programs individually if somebody wants to be a lone wolf. We have a program, Lone Wolf. Okay, so like if they want to be a lone wolf and do it themselves, we'll guide them through the teachings. But it's so much more effective with a pack. When you have a group, the group attracts itself. So there's common themes. They'll feel the call. And so they'll come in. They don't know why, but it's because they're actually working with their pack, like their people. And they're working on certain soul lessons. Like that group will be very focused on certain soul lessons. I've just noticed it over the years. It's like, oh, this group's working on mother wounds issues. Okay. Or like this group's working on self-esteem. All right. And you'll just start to see like they have exactly the same needs. So like when somebody shares some story that touches on one of these themes, everybody gets healed.
Right. The way you're describing it, it sounds as though because you've developed this, from what I'm gathering, from, again, more of an experiential growth within yourself and in the group. And then you get these different parts of it that are developing by virtue of that, right?
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing.
Amazing.
Because then it becomes individualized lone wolf, but at the same time, it's also collectively universal, and that's so important.
Yeah, it's really important. I love that you're saying this, and I love that you're also incorporating these principles in your practice, and that I feel like you're one of my people because we all have tried, we've literally turned every stone and looked inside and said, okay, what's this practice? Okay, what's that? And then had this massive tool bag, because we needed it in order to heal ourselves, in order to get untwisted and untangled and
I'm throwing it away now. That bag's gone.
So yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And I love also that you've mentioned a couple of times the space of miracles. And I want you to define your version of miracle, because I think you and I share the same version of miracle, but I want you to say what you think. How would you describe a miracle?
Oh, wow. What a question. To be perfectly honest with you, maybe this is going to sound too, esoterical or whatever, but I believe that we need to have the miracle all the time. Me being in here in this space is a miracle to me. Me being alive right now is a miracle to me. Do I appreciate it enough? No, that's the issue that we don't, right? But that to me is the essence of living in the miracle, if you will, and learning how to do that, which can be very difficult when we're all distracted from all these things from outside and from inside. Now, there are the specific kinds of miracles, I guess the more tangible things that you see occur along the way. I believe very strongly there's a parallel nature to how you're healing yourself and how you'll see those synchronistic miracles stack up more and more. As your trajectory is growing and you're evolving, you're going to see more of those things, or we need to see more of those things. And that's what I've been seeing in my life more. And it's good validation to just say, oh, okay, I got to trust you more then so I can see more of it. It's not just me. And it's okay to make mistakes because I know at the point of my life now where I am, I can act stupid and I'm still connected. I can say things that I'm not sure of and I'm still connected. There's this aspect, and I don't believe in, again, the woo-woo concept of channeling necessarily, but it is something that we need to learn, that it's always here. And this voice is coming through us all individually. We have this voice that'll speak through us. We just have to trust it. And again, take that risk to just come out with what's really inside of us. Having a group, of course, to support us with it. I hope that makes sense as far as what I'm.
I think the miracle is that we're even here. That by itself was just a miracle, because how did that even happen? How are we on this planet? How is there a planet to be on? All of that is kind of a miracle. It's a big miracle. And then in my personal life, I think about all the crazy stuff I did, and I'm just like, it's a miracle I'm still here.
Exactly. Exactly. But that brings up another question. I don't want to be too much here because we're going to have to end soon. This will go on forever.
This is fine.
But with that idea that miracles do happen, and there's some people who are experiencing it more. Oh, where was I going to go with this question? This is when I lose it sometimes. I guess I'm wondering, like, how we can continue to live this way, especially those who are having a difficult time, to get into this frame of trusting this thing or living in this miracle and then building up on top of it. That was kind of the question, but I actually wanted to ask him in a different way.
Yeah, I think it definitely requires the practice it's like the practice keeps you open and available to be a witness to the miracles. Because I believe the miracles are already happening. It's just that you may not be seeing them. Because if you're really having a hard time and you're struggling, and I've had those parts of my life where I've really been down in the dumps, and my mind was telling me nothing good is happening. What's the point? I don't want to be here. Take me now. And I was not seeing the miracles then. A couple of times, though, the miracles poke through really strong. So I think sometimes when you're really getting off track, divine might just come down lightning bolt, and I had a couple of those moments where, like, eat, pray, love on the bathroom floor, like crying my heart out, in the middle of the night, like, this is a terrible marriage. I'm really stuck. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm so upset. All I do is cry. Somebody's got to turn this off. And then all of a sudden it's like God turned the tear spigot off and I stopped crying. And I was like, how did that happen? Like
that could be like, wait a minute.
Like all of a sudden I'm not sad. What happened?
Right.
I didn't know how it stopped. It just stopped. And I was like, that's really weird,
Yeah.
But I mean, you can have these moments that get your attention. But like you said, the power of now. Book drops on the floor in front of you. It's like, this is the book you need to read. But that's when I believe the divine will orchestrate any person when you're way off track. And I mean, like, because you're going down into self-violence and self-deprecation and martyrdom and all those things. And that's kind of off track, like it's on track because you need to explore it for your curriculum, but it's off track if you really ready to love yourself.
Right.
So it'll just kind of give you, bam, like an insight like that.
Yeah.
And the key is to follow those. It
is. And I hope more people like yourself and what you're doing, because here's what I believe too. Your message needs to be expanded more and more to the whole world. Messages like that, people who can say these kind of things, especially now, because there's so much, come on, everybody's saying this now. And that's one of the things. People are becoming more and more fearful because of everything that's going on. And that's not necessarily a bad thing right now.
Cautious and aware, I think, is good.
Cautious and aware is
Fearful and
good.
worrying is going to drag your vibe down. And
unless
yeah,
you can learn from it and not go back into your bubble, because that's what we usually do.
yeah, because escapism happens beyond alcoholism and beyond drug use and all that. Like you said, the next addiction is spiritualism. I mean, you can also be in an escapism of spirituality, kind of staying up, flying high with eagle and not coming down into your body, so that's another escapism. It's just that it feels better.
Right.
But it gets to be hollow after a while because you do have to come back down. That's the next part.
Yes,
You got to really get in your flesh. And the meat and bones of your journey and like the things that you've avoided and didn't want to face and the emotions you don't want to feel.
Right. Being too spiritually minded to be no earthly good. Yeah.
Exactly. Or like, can't wait to get my ticket out of here.
What do you think about the idea? And again, this gets a little bit interesting, I think. Like we were talking about fear, because there is fear, there's depression, there's sadness. Well, I shouldn't put sadness in yet because I think we need to have more sadness in it. That's the concern part. But the fear part, I think people need to have some of that too, just as human beings. Do we need to have the way we understand it? No. But I do think that we need to see that there's things there that we need to evolve from becoming how we interpret fear to become more the concern. But in order to get there, and this is, I guess, where I really want to come from, we need to, as people, be able to recognize that it is there. Don't stuff it down, but let it be exposed. The more you can let this be exposed, and you're practicing trusting something where you are, and it will dissipate because darkness can't exist with light. But too many of us are afraid to let that be exposed. So when I say fear, that's what, to be able to see that we all have it to some degree, and to learn how to evaporate it, to have it join the party while we're healing it, if that makes sense. I don't know what you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the vulnerability part of your 4-part program. That's being willing to be vulnerable and say, yeah, I'm afraid about this, or this is causing me anxiety, or it's being willing to ask for help and to say, I'm feeling these things. And I think we all need to be better at being a sacred witness of each other, meaning that we're not trying to fix each other and we're not arguing with each other, but we're just going, oh, wow, that's what's going on in your dream. Okay, thank you for sharing that. That must be hard. And that's what I've had to practice with my son, because he had, is schizoaffective is a really challenging thing. And he's having experiences that, from my perspective, not happening in physical form, but in his perspective, completely happening in physical form. So it's like, how you want to respect someone's journey and what they're going through, right? And not deny their journey. I've had to learn how to be a really good sacred witness and honor and respect his journey as well as mine. And I think that we're all right at the same time, like I keep hearing that over and over again, that everyone's right inside their dream. Inside that person's dream, they're correct, but inside of mine, they're not. But inside of theirs, they are.
Yeah, and that's a difficult thing to do at times, or to sit with, but it can be very, very healing. And I think that's really important. People in my business, it was working with children on the spectrum. There's this something called the telepathy tapes. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Really interesting kinds of concepts where they're dealing with people who are nonverbal, and they're showing that they can do certain things because of where they are is something not that we've experienced, because we're trying to fix them, or we're trying to do something that doesn't fit into what they believe. And more people are learning to say, let us get into their world and help them communicate in any way that they can, so that they can develop themselves. And they're showing some pretty good results from that kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually have a friend whose child is autistic, and she's a spiritual person and psychic, and they communicate psychically. And I've had moments of psychic communication with my son. So where it was like, he said something to me without speaking, and I answered it speaking. And he was like, you heard me. And I was like, I did hear you. Yeah, I heard what you said, So there is psychic communication. And a lot of people that watch this show, they know that's true, whether or not you've experienced it. But yeah.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
And things are growing more and more right now where it's becoming more accepted by the scientific community, different kind of things, that wouldn't have been in the past. And hopefully they'll become more and more and more because it's all separation of religion and science, whatever, or spirituality and science. Do we need to, I don't want to say it without sounding too weird, prove ourselves? In a way, yes. We need to demonstrate that, yes, we do have an answer, the answer. And then that be demonstrated in such a demonstrative way that it does show itself out into the communities. There's this thing that I have a screenplay that I'm trying to develop. I don't know if you ever heard of the Azusa Street Mission.
No, I haven't.
Okay, 1906, there was this church group. I think they were Baptist or Protestant, Black people in a mostly, it was like a white area in the Black areas. 1906, they had this church. People would come by and they would hear them doing their loud kind of music and all that kind of stuff. And then they saw fire coming out of the building. So sometimes they saw it several times. They would call the fire department. The fire department would come in and want to put it out. They would see that it all dissipated and there was no fire. And a journalist came by and this was all over the country and the world. It was demonstrated that something's going on here that can't be explained. The journalist was in the building and he saw these miracles occurring that was confounding. Not just the regular, a faith healer puts his hand on you and the person throws their crutch away for a moment and then they go home and they still have the problem. But people where they would demonstrate were significantly being healed from various kinds of uncurable diseases. The fire was another demonstration coming out of it that they couldn't explain. The journalist was like, how can that happen? But people would say as witnesses that this did happen. So I made a screenplay and I wanted to present how we can really expand and do these kind of things because we need to have more of that. Yeah.
And I think that's exactly the right direction because honestly, I think at the end of the day, what's going to help a lot of people pull out of these destructive patterns is to have something more enticing to live for, to have something more interesting, more compelling, more fulfilling, more enriching, and sparks curiosity and sparks interest and aliveness. And that is what's going to pull us out, of dark places when we find ourselves in those places. Not to say we should avoid them, because I totally believe in just sitting with it now and just being with myself and bringing my light to that place.
Yeah, yeah.
But then to pull myself through that experience is like, oh, well, I know that I'm going to have this great conversation with Ronnie tomorrow. So yeah, stick around for another day and see what happens.
Exactly. And a lot of people need to understand that, hey, if you've got serious PTSD or different things are going in your life, you're not saying I've got to get everything up here and heal overnight, but incrementally. We help a person along the way. And I always say this as a therapist or whatever, counselor, I don't like to use the term therapist. I'm here to help a person help themselves, period.
Exactly. And we do have to do it ourselves. And so I know that when you're in the middle of it and it's hard and it's difficult and it feels like quicksand or like really thick mud. And it's like, you got like cement shoes trying to walk through quicksand or mud. Doesn't feel easy. I get that. I know that. Yeah. And there's a lot of demonstration of people who have survived really difficult things like Ronnie here. And I've survived some tough stuff too. And you can do it. And so that's why we have the show, is why we share people's experiences, is so that you know that you can do it too. You just take it one step at a time. I love the 4 parts that Ronnie shared. Get your support team, get some help, ask for help, be vulnerable, say what you're going through, ask for the support. Don't try to hide it. Be with that experience and get some support, and one step at a time. Yeah. And sometimes you might go back, might fall off step 5, but
but that's okay. And one of the things, this is my last thing I want to just throw out real quick. It's really good to see that the stuff I'm going through now, which I'm going to be honest with you, it's probably it's one of the most difficult times in my life this past year. So many things hit the fan at the same time. And it's kind of like you're going, well, wait a minute, it's not supposed to be like this. And you go, come on, God, I'm getting worn down here. Come on, I'm hitting bottom again. But what I'm finding is I can see how I'm joking about it now in a way. And please help people understand it's really that difficult. I mean, some people know I know what it feels like to be there. And it's pretty difficult right now, but I'm happy. I want happy, joy. But I'm at peace in the midst of it. And that's what we need to, no matter what's going on, to learn to connect that much where we can have even a relative degree of peace in it.
Exactly. And that's why we do the practice, because we develop the capacity to stay present with difficult stuff and move through it one day at a time. Excellent conversation. I'm so glad that we had this conversation, Ronnie, and that you've reached out. And yeah, that I was like, yeah, let's do it. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
And I'm going to just invite everybody, please like, subscribe, and share this episode out with anybody that you know this might really help in this moment of difficulty and despair and whatever else they're going through. That, you know, there's a ray of hope here, and it happens just like we talked about in the interview. So much good stuff in this content. And I hope you share it out and everybody can receive it. And I like to finish with kisses. So Reiki kisses coming your way. You can join us. You got Ronnie,
Yes,
but
hugs, kisses.
I like to give people kisses. So
yes.
here they come, everybody. A
Hey.
little Reiki love for the end of the show. Here we come. So much love, you guys. And have a great week. And we'll see you next time on Soul Nectar Show. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
If you found even one gold nugget in this episode of Soul Nectar Show, will you do us a favor? Will you subscribe, like, and share this episode? Maybe even write a comment and let us know what you thought about it. We really, really want to engage with you at a much deeper level. Let's be part of community together. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now.
Soul Nectar Show. Awaken on the Soul Nectar Show. Take a sip from the drip of nectar, from the source of who you are.